starring Bela Day and...
But Ma, that's my favorite movie. Oh, well, all right. But don't you spend too much time in front of that TV, do you hear me? Yes, Ma. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode from your new favorite podcast. But Ma, that's my favorite movie. And I am your host, Bela Day. And we are now on episode 5, episode 5. And this episode is titled, But Ma, that's my favorite nostalgic movie. And before we get into the theme today, I would love to thank my returning listeners, because after everything that's happened, if you are still coming back, still listening to my podcast, I appreciate you so much. It does not go unnoticed, even though I can't quite tell who's a returning listener. But if you are, you know who you are, and I appreciate you. If you are a new listener, welcome. And I really hope that you will continue to listen, and I hope this is not the last episode you listen to. And I just welcome you, and you are in for a treat. All right, so let's get into it. So in today's theme, we're talking about nostalgic movies. Of course, movies that are nostalgic to myself. It is movies that I grew up watching as a child. It's movies that I have good feelings towards, that left some type of impact or mark on my childhood, that I'm talking about it so many years later, over probably 10 years later, you know? And just to give a proper definition of what the word nostalgic means now, I know y'all know what it means, but I just want to give a proper definition of it so we're all on the same page. All right, so nostalgic. It's a sentimental longing. Oh God, I can't talk. Let me start over. A sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. Now, since I'm referring to my childhood, obviously that is where my happy personal associations lie. Don't get me wrong, I've had good times as an adult, but we're just going nostalgic, the past here. And well, this particular episode, this part, we're going towards the childhood part. And as a kid, I remember watching movies. I remember going to the movies, and I have a lot of good memories as a child. And some of them are associated with the movies that I watched. And I was very blessed to have parents that never showed us what they went through. We never had to worry about where our next meal was going to come. We never had to worry where we were going to sleep at night. We never had to worry, about like, how are we going to get clothes? How are we going to get shoes? Those are very simple things. Roof over your head, something to eat. But there's a lot of people that are dealing with situations like that you can't help. You run into hard times. Things happen as an adult. Some things you could prevent, some things you can't. And unfortunately, there are some kids that have to deal with that, and my heart goes out to them. But my personal experience, I had a good experience with my parents. That's why my mom would, tell me stuff about, stuff she went through or things that happened. I had no idea as a kid, no earthly idea about what they went through. But plus, my parents were always like super hard workers. Like when I tell you, that's where I get my work ethic from. It's from my parents and like kind of my go-to attitude, because literally that's how my parents were. They always worked. I've never seen my parents, even when they were sick, they would always go to work. They never called in. So those were my memories lie as far as that goes. But I kind of veered off subject. So let's go ahead and let's just get into this thing. Let's get into what y'all came here to do, which is talk about movies. Now, before we get into the first movie today, something that I do before I have a discussion about each episode, I like to say a quote from that movie to start it off. And if you've listened to the previous episodes, I'm pretty sure you already know. But it always feels so awkward when I jump into it because I'm always like, okay, here we go. And then I just go into like this speech or these lines. And I always wonder if people go, wait, what happened? Did I miss something? No, you didn't miss anything. I'm just going in with a quote from the movie. But sometimes it's just a little awkward going into it. But maybe it ain't awkward at all. And y'all just be like, oh, okay. I don't even know what you're talking about right now. So if you don't, then just ignore it. But if you do, then there you go. Okay, one more thing I wanted to note. So when I was talking about like going into the theme, I'm going to basically be talking about discoveries that I made while watching these two films, because I did have some discoveries. Because as a kid, you know, when you watch stuff, you don't really understand it. There's nothing to really understand because you're just watching it at entertainment value, right? As a kid, you don't go through enough in life to have understandings about, you know, trials or tribulations or issues or roadblocks and stuff that happens. So I'm going to be working through those as well. So if I kind of say some stuff, you like, duh, girl. Well, it was my personal discovery. So like, let me do me, okay? All right, let's get into the first movie here. And I never say the title first, but you should know the movies I'm talking about if you follow my social media. But if you don't, then you'll get the title in like a couple seconds. All right. Lights, camera, action. Well, some teachers are trying to lowball me, Daddy. And I know how you say, never accept a first offer. So I figured these grades are just a jumping off point to start negotiations. The first movie we're getting into today is Clueless, which was released on July 7th, 1995. I was a little baby. And to be honest, I'm not very sure. Because if I was around I was a toddler when this movie came out. So I don't remember. I remember being a little bit older by the time I actually watched this movie. So I want to say maybe I watched it, maybe 97, 98, somewhere around there. But anywho, I actually want to say another quote that I like, because normally I have just one, but there's two quotes I like. And so to kind of backtrack a little bit, that quote that I did was by the main character, Cher, who's played by Alicia Silverstone. And the second quote is going to be by her as well. And here we go. Dion and her boyfriend Murray are in this dramatic relationship. I think they've seen that Ike and Tina Turner movie too many times. Okay, I love that quote because the Ike and Tina Turner movie is What's Love Got to Do with It, which is Tina Turner's biopic, however you want to say that. It's basically a movie that's about her life, and I absolutely love that movie. And so when they mentioned that in Clueless, which I didn't realize until I watched it again, and I was like, oh my God, they kind of pay homage to that movie a little bit. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Now, something I actually said, I'm going to do a correct me if I'm wrong, because in the second episode with the party movies, because in the movie Can't Hardly Wait that I talked about, the actor Donald Faison and Breckin Myers were in that movie, and they're in this movie as well. And I said that they were friends in Clueless, but as I watched this movie again, because I guess I imagined them, I remember seeing them in this movie, and I thought they were associated with each other, but apparently they weren't. They're actually in two different social groups, so they're not even connected in this movie. They're just they go to the same school, that's it. But in Can't Hardly Wait, they were actually friends, but in this one they weren't. So I did want to correct that. All right, so let's go ahead and we're gonna get into this. Let's get into what the movie's about. Okay, so I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen this movie because, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's considered a cult classic. But if you haven't, well, let's get into it. All right, so we're dealing with the main character, Cher, who is rich, she's popular, and her biggest dilemmas are what she wants to wear in the morning and convincing her teachers to raise her grades, even though she earned the low grade she got because she didn't put that much effort in. She put more effort into her outfits than her school, okay? And she's your typical Valley girl. She lives in a rich neighborhood. Her dad is a lawyer. Sadly, her mom had died when she was a baby, so she didn't really get to like know her that much. She has a stepbrother named Josh, what's funny about this is she has a stepbrother from her dad's previous marriage. But mind you, like, they have no relation. Okay? Like, when her dad was with his ex-wife, the wife had the son from her previous marriage. So basically, she has a stepbrother in her life that literally has no biological relation with this boy, but he still like keeps up with them because he's like, I guess he had a bond with them, or he feels bad or guilty of not still hanging out with the kid. I don't know a lot of people who do that, because normally once you divorce from someone, if that isn't your biological kid, normally you kind of part ways and it is what it is. And, you know, whatever history I had together, I mean, it kind of it goes away. But I guess he feels some obligation, or he feels like that's his kid. But anywho, so yeah, the stepbrother, he comes to visit her. I guess like his time's off during school, or I think his school is not that far, so he ends up like coming to stay with like his stepdad, using air quotes here, because he really can't stand his own mother, which I thought that was pretty hilarious. All right, so let's get into like the beginning here. So the beginning starts off where Cher is going to school and she's picking up her best friend named Dion, who has the same lifestyle as her. Dion, we don't really learn much about who Dion's parents are, or maybe I just didn't pay attention enough. But yeah, whatever her parents do, they're just as rich as Cher's parents, and like her house is just as nice. They live, I think, a couple blocks from each other. So we're also learning that Cher just got her learner's permit, and we see that she is not a very good driver. So we're trying to figure out how she even got that. Then they end up getting to school, and we get introduced to Dion's boyfriend, which his name is Murray. And Cher makes it very clear that she refuses to date high school boys because she feels like she's above that. She's like, I'm not gonna date high school boys because they're like so immature, like they don't dress well, and like, yeah, she just thinks she's above them. So then we get introduced to other characters in the movie, like Amber, who is Cher's nemesis, the skater kid Travis, and Elton, which isn't her boyfriend, but it's kind of misleading because it kind of looks like the way they interact with each other that is her boyfriend, but then she makes it very clear that she doesn't date high school boys. So I don't know. I always thought that was kind of weird because I thought that was her boyfriend. I don't know. Gives you kind of mixed signals there. But anywho, so Cher ends up getting her report card for the semester, and she realized that she has some C's. So when she realized that she's, basically failing some of her classes, she starts to turn on the charm with her teachers so she can kind of weasel her way into getting her grades raised. Like when I told you in the beginning how she's too busy trying to convince her teachers. Yeah, that's like one of the major plot points, is that she's just trying to convince her teachers that she trying to make an excuse as to why her grades should be higher. And it's pretty much working for all of her teachers until she tries to get her grade raised for her debate class, but her teacher, Mr. Hall, he's not for it. He's basically like, you come in this class, you do these half A speeches, and you expect to get a really good grade from it, but your speeches are off topic. Because once Cher and Dion get to school and they're in class, their debate class is one of the main classes. Well, one of the main classes that we see her be in when she goes to school. And her speech was supposed to be talking about why Haitians are able to come into this country. Like, why should they be able to come into this country? And then, of course, in debate, you have I forgot, like the opposition and then the affirmative side, whatever it is. And so she was supposed to be for it. And she used her whole speech to basically talk about how she had to panic when the people who were supposed to RSVP for her dad's party did it, and how she had to create this basically, like, because you have when you RSVP, they have a certain amount of food and stuff they're gonna get, but when extra people come, it's like you're not expecting that. So she had to pull some strings or whatever. Besides the point. But yeah, she just basically shows how she doesn't really pay attention to any of her topics. So I mean, her grades are well deserved. And so what ends up happening is whenever the teacher is not giving in to her raising her freaking grade, Cher realizes after a day of shopping with Dion that her debate teacher is basically miserable. I've put on the charm for him. Why does he not think I deserve a higher grade just because I said I do? And so she comes up with this plan to set him up with someone, because she's like, well, what equals not miserable? Relationship. When you're in a relationship, you'll be happy. So she's pretty much scoping out all of the available teachers at school, and she ends up setting her hopes on linking Mr. Hall with Miss Geist, which ends up going as planned, because she, is setting up all of this stuff where she's telling Mr. Hall one thing, then she's telling Miss Geist something, and then she ends up getting them together. And then everything starts to go with that, because as soon as he gets them together, then it makes all the other students' life much better, because when you get a relationship with somebody, it does it puts a little spice to your life. It's like eating a cake, but you want the frosting on it. The frosting is gonna make it better. Cake is good, but you put the frosting on it, it's gonna make it better. And so then, kind of like a B plot into the movie, is when we first get introduced to the new girl in school. And this is actually one of my discoveries as I watched this movie as to why they called the movie Clueless. Now, I could be wrong, but this is my interpretation of it. So there's a new girl that gets introduced into Cher and Dion's PE class, and her name is Ty. And I think she's from somewhere on the East Coast because of her accent, but she doesn't specify where she came from. But she does say, I think she says somewhere on the East Coast. And then when Cher sees Ty, she's like, one of the things that she says is, she is adorably clueless, which I would assume by the way she's dressed, Ty's character. She has baggy clothes, plaid, dark colors. Her hair is curly and kind of just in a messy ponytail. And Ty is entering into a whole new world. Her style is totally different than most of Cher's classmates, because this school, you could tell, has mostly kids with parents that have money. So it's a totally different aesthetic. And this girl's entering into a whole new world. A whole new world. And so when she ends up calling Ty over, and they ask her, how does she like California? Because that's where they're at. And Ty mentions that she's freaking out and she's needing a herbal refreshment. And then Cher and Dion are just as clueless, because when Dion says that, and Dion ends up replying, oh, well, we have lunch in 10 minutes. We don't have tea, but we have Coke and stuff. And Ty says, no shit, you guys have Coke here? And Cher says, yeah, this is America. So, that was kind of a click moment for me, that we have this one girl who's coming almost like it's like a different planet, right? Wherever she came from, I'm pretty sure her parents probably have money, but just the way she dresses and stuff, it's like a totally different scene compared to where she's now. And then we have Sharon Dion that have no idea. You can tell about like drugs and stuff, which normally it's funny because people who have money, they definitely deal with drugs. It's not just like lower class people that do drugs, because people who have money do drugs all the time. So that's why it's kind of weird. But anyways, for the sake of the movie's purposes, on their planet, they don't do drugs. They don't get into stuff like that. But Ty does. And so it was clueless. It's like this clueless on both sides. You have these two girls who are like sheltered, who just know about shopping and just looking cute for school and just dressing up nice, versus Ty, who's like, she's more into participating in recreational activities and, dressing how she wants. And so it's like they're both clueless to each other. But I'm going to get into this a little bit later. So let me kind of continue with the story. So then what ends up happening is Ty is going to go under Cher's wing, because all of a sudden Cher's like, oh my God, I have like a project now. Like this girl, initially she sees it like, oh my God, this girl needs me. Like, look at the way she dressed, like the way she talks. Like I can, make her like me. Basically like a clone of me. Because Cher's thinking, okay, who wouldn't want to be me? So Ty, she actually ends up gravitating towards Travis. And Travis is the skater boy who we see throughout the film. And his style is actually way more like Ty's. And just the way they talk and what they're interested in. But, of course, Cher and Dion, they are in the popular circle, and they don't think that's appropriate for Ty and Travis to be interacting with each other, because of course they see Travis as like beneath them. And so as Ty's under Cher's wing, her personality and her style begins to change, and it's basically she's becoming one of them. And then Cher ends up, like, this is later in the film, she ends up catching the eye of a new boy in town, because like what was said in the beginning of the film, she was like, I don't do high school boys. She finally finds I'm using air quotes right here, a high school boy that she's actually interested in, and she's actually hoping to make that her first boyfriend. And there's a very interesting twist at the end, and the very, very end of the movie, it makes me feel really good watching it again. Like when you watch a movie and because I'm sorry, I like twists and turns and stuff you wouldn't expect in movies, but I also really like happy endings. And this movie has a happy ending, even though it's kind of twisted, but it's a happy ending. And I just remember it making me feel good when it ended. It made me feel really good. All right, so let's get into who played who in this movie. And I hope all of this, I didn't see them all over the place and it all makes sense. Okay, so we have, like I said, Alicia Silverstone, who plays Cher. She's known for Batman and Robin. Stacey Dash, who, the one we shall not speak about, but she did play in Mo Money. And Stacey Dash played Dion. Brittany Murphy played Ty, and she's known for 8 Mile and Just Married. Then we have Paul Rudd, who plays Josh, the stepbrother. He's played in Ant-Man, Knocked Up, This Is 40, just a bunch of comedy movies. Donald Faison, he's really, like, Scrubs was like his staple, even though it was a TV series. Like, I think he was on there like all the seasons. He was also in Remember the Titans. Then we have Alicia Donovan, she played Amber. And we have Breckin Meyer, who played Travis, the skater. And main movies he played in, like I mentioned before, I Can't Hardly Wait, Road Trip. Then we have Jeremy Sisto, and he played Elton, which was Cher, it's like AKA Cher's boyfriend, AKA not Cher's boyfriend at the same time, if that makes sense. Then we have Dan Haida. He did y'all. Oh my god, I can't. But anyways, he plays the dad. He plays her dad, and he was in The Unusual Suspects, First Wives Club. Ooh, that's another good movie. I love that movie. All right, and then the director of this movie is Amy Heckerling. She also directed Look Who's Talking 1 and 2, National Lampoon's European, Fast Time at Ridgemount High, and she did a lot of TV shows. So she jumped in directing a lot of TV shows as well. Okay, so just to kind of go over some memorable things in the movie. Well, actually, let me go over the theme first. Okay, so like I was talking about the theme, I felt like that was a running theme in the movie, because when you really look at the title Clueless, you're like, okay, clueless. It's someone that's unaware of what's going on. And Cher was, it's like all of the different people are just clueless to like the big picture of things around them. And were kind of wrapped up in their own selves that they just didn't even take the time to learn or just really be aware of their surroundings. Now, Cher's character, I will say this though, because as I was watching it, you get this interpretation that she's a very shallow person. Yes. And it's because of her lifestyle. When you grow up and you have a silver spoon in your mouth, you have a freaking a huge closet, a huge room, like everything that you could ever want. It's hard to relate to people who, something as simple as like not even knowing what they're going to eat, where they're going to lay their head. You can't relate to that. But through all of that exterior shallowness, I also learned that the running goal for her throughout the film was caring about everyone else and what made them happy or what would make them happy. Because Cher was really a thoughtful person. Like, she really was. She was very giving. She was very loyal to her friends. She just always cared about other people, which there's not a lot of people, especially like what were at her age, that would have cared about, your friends being happy more than your own happiness. But she really did. Like, she spent the whole movie was her worrying about making sure her dad was healthy, making sure her friend Dion was good, getting Ty under her wing, hooking Mr. Hall up with Miss Geist. It was just, that was the running thing for her goal. The running theme, the running goal for her character in particular was that she was really looking out for everybody. And I was able to really see that. This movie has a bunch of memorable music, and they have a bunch of memorable lines. So that's why I end up having to do 2 quotes, because it was just so memorable. All right, just to kind of get into some of the scenes that I really loved in this movie. Because this movie, to me, it's not really the plot itself that makes it a good movie or would make it a cult classic. It's the characters. The characters drove this movie for me. And some of the scenes I love. Okay, so I love the scene where Cher and Dion are giving a makeover to Ty. And we get to see Cher's closet, which is huge. And she has this remote to this moving rack of clothes in her closet. So she has this she can control her closet to like the clothes to move. So she can kind of, search through all of the different outfits she has. And she has a huge vanity and a section where she has just her shoes. And it looks so cool. And any young girl watching this movie would be like, oh my God, I would die for that closet, because it just looks so cool. She even had like this touchscreen monitor that she could, it's like it had her body, and she can search through virtually the shirts and bottoms that she had, and she could put them together, see which one she likes, so she could pick it out. How freaking cool is that? Then I had mentioned this scene earlier. This was one of the first debates that she had. She's supposed to be on the affirmative side of should refugees be able to come to America. But she goes into the tangent about RSVPing about her dad's party and then having to, to accommodate the people who didn't RSVP that end up showing up to the party. And the teacher's basically like, you literally said nothing about the refugees and why they should be able to come to America. But like everyone in the class cheers for her afterwards. Like she really said something important or riveting. And that scene was cute. And then there's a whole lead up to this main party that they go to in the movie. So the first part I loved was when they were in the car. And it is Murray driving. We have Dion in the passenger seat. And then we have Cher and Ty sitting in the back. And Murray's trying to get directions from Dion of how to get to the party. But Dion can't read the map. And so he basically gets frustrated with her. But the way they have that set up, it is too funny. And then Ty, when they get to the party, she actually gets hit in the head with a freaking shoe because these people, there's a song, Rolling with the Homies. Like, I swear, that is the song when you think of Clueless. And so when she gets hit in the head because somebody was jamming to her to that song, and they were sitting on something and their legs were dangling and they were moving their legs up and down as they were like bobbing to the music, and then they lift their leg up too high and it made their shoe fly off, and then it hit Ty. And then they put Ty like on this table to try to like put some ice on her head to kind of wake her up because she like faints from it. And this is at the time when Cher's trying to like basically hook Elton up with Ty. And then, Elton is trying to like get her back to it because she does wake up. But then he's like, okay, can you do this? So he motions. They do this movement with like their hands, almost like the worm. Like rolling with the homies. Oh my god, it's so silly, y'all. But it was cute. All right, and then during the party scene, Murray decides to shave his head. Dion ends up flipping out, and she's like, "You can't do this. Like, we're about to take yearbook pictures, and you're shaving your freaking head. What the heck were you thinking?" And, Murray's making a mockery of her, like, oh, you shave your head. Your picture is like, he's not even taking it seriously until she goes, I'm calling your mother. And he's like, oh, no, don't call my mother. And then she ends up somehow, like, he ends up getting pushed out of the bathroom. She shuts the door on him, and she's in there. She's really going to call his mother. He's like, don't call her, because I guess he knows his mom going to flip out. All right, so getting to some trivia here, some things you may not have known about this movie. Alicia Silverstone did not have to audition for the role. I don't know what she did, but she didn't have to audition for it. Maybe the director was like, oh my God, Alicia would be perfect. Alicia did not know how to correctly pronounce Haitians. In the movie, she said Haydens or Haddons. The Haddons... I think that's how she said it, but she said it wrong. And then the director, Amy, had told the crew not to correct her because she liked it so much and wanted it to be in the film because it honestly went with her character. That sounded like her character would not know how to pronounce. And during the film, there are 53 kinds. Oh, yeah, this is separate. Okay, yeah, so another thing. There is actually 53 different kinds of tartan plaid used, 7 of which are worn by Cher and 12 by other major characters. Now, the plot, characters, themes, and values are all based on Jane Austen's novel, Emma. So Amy was asked by Paramount to write a film for teenagers, and she instantly remembered a novel she read as a teenager. That's cool. I've never read Emma, but that's cool. Actors who auditioned for this film had included, and I love seeing what actors that could have been, because it's just, it's like an alternate universe of what it would have been like if one of these actors who auditioned in it would have actually been in there. So Reese Witherspoon went for Cher. Terrence Howard went for Murray. Jeremy Renner went for Christian, which Christian ended up being the boy that she liked later in the film. I couldn't see him doing that. He went for Christian and Josh. So he went for the boy that Cher liked and then also the stepbrother, but he didn't get into those. Zooey Deschanel auditioned for Amber and Cher. I mean, I could have maybe seen her as Cher. Owen Wilson for Travis. Oh, no. Breckenmeyer was perfect for that. Lee Remini for Ty. Seth Green for Travis. I could have seen that. And Lauryn Hill for Dion. I didn't know Lauryn Hill was in these Hollywood streets auditioning for roles. Well, I know she was in one movie. But okay. This film had a spin-off. This film spun off a television show and a series of books. So that's how well this film did. That they had television shows and books. This film is the template of Iggy Azalea's music video Fancy, released in 2014. So if you've seen that video Fancy, that was a very popular song. If you've seen this video, you wondered where she got that from, or if you thought that was original. No, honey. She got it from the movie Clueless. Often referred to as a film debut of Paul Rudd, which was really Halloween 6. So basically, they're saying, like, they think that this was, like, his first movie, but his first movie was Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, 1995. And then Clueless was his second movie. But Clueless was released before Halloween 6, causing the confusion. Because just because a movie comes out before another movie doesn't mean it was filmed first, or, post-production was finished first. I really like the movie references they did. They did What's Love Got to Do with It, Some Like It Hot. And then the 90s cartoons, they showed Ren and Stimpy and Beavis Butthead on the TV at a point in the film. All right. That is it for Clueless, guys. Do y'all have any questions? Joke, you can't answer me because it's a podcast. Anyways. All right, let's get into the second movie here. You haven't even said how nice the house looks. You're off at the office all day doing interesting office things. I'm stuck here cooking and cleaning and mowing the lawn, helping Melissa with her fastball, being a role model for Zach, spending quality time with Walter, and doing your party shit. You've got the car, and you don't even take me anywhere anymore. And when was the last time we went to dinner together, huh? You know what? I'm sick and tired of not being appreciated. Now, this is only a partial quote because this is actually from a full scene. And that scene is actually pretty funny and it's pretty ironic. But the movie we're about to get into right now is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, which was released June 7th, 1991. And their anniversary just passed. What was it? Anniversary of like 29 years? I believe, 29 years since this movie came out. And all right, let's get into what the freak this movie is about. Now, I have not seen this movie in a while. Okay, so when I watched it again for this episode, I was like, dang, there was a lot of stuff that I didn't realize when I first watched it. All right, so Swell is the main character here, okay? Swell's mom is going away with her boyfriend to Australia for 2 months. How lovely. And she's leaving Swell. And, Swell has 4 other siblings behind. Now, the other siblings are Melissa, Zach, Walter, and Kenny. Who has ever met a Walter that's like 9 years old? We always meet Walters when they're older. So I thought that was a very interesting name for a kid in this movie. But I digress. So Swell has plans to bathe in the sun and just do whatever she wants all summer until the playhouse quickly gets torn down and she finds out her mom actually hired a babysitter to watch her and her siblings. And her name is Mrs. Sturak. Now, of course, Swell is disappointed, and her siblings are too, because they're thinking, okay, Sue's like, I'm 16. I'm the oldest. My mom is going to leave us to our own devices, even though she wasn't really going to watch the kids like that. But she's like, I know, like, my mom's going to leave. I'm going to watch the kids. We're going to chill. We're just going to have fun. And, that's great my mom's leaving because we ain't got to worry about her nagging at us. So then, when we first meet the babysitter, she seems nice, like a little old lady, innocent, timid, just what you think a stereotypical old lady would be like. But as soon as the mama leaves, the babysitter instantly turns into a drill sergeant. Now, keep in mind, what we learn about these kids is they do whatever they want, okay? The house is a mess. And when the mom tells them to do something, because literally at the beginning of the film, she's like trying to get them all ready. She's trying to get Melissa to get something to eat. She's trying to get them to help. She's trying to get her kids to help her clean. And they just don't want to do nothing. And, you can tell, it's very obvious because they don't do nothing around the house. It's very obvious how they treat her and treat their own freaking house that they live in. So when this babysitter, Miss Sturak, becomes a drill sergeant, low key, it would have been good for the kids because they lack discipline, and the mom didn't know how to control them. And as Miss Sturak is trying to whip the kids into shape, and she's doing stuff like making Melissa wear a dress, because Melissa, she's a tomboy, so she's like, girls should wear dresses, which will probably be problematic today. But it is a 90s movie, and there was a lot of problematic stuff back then. So, she's trying to make Melissa wear a dress. She's taking away TV from Walter, and Walter loves watching I think he was watching Jeopardy or some old TV show, and he was pretty good at it. So she takes that away from him. Zach has a little girlfriend over. He trying to mooch, and the babysitter's like, that's enough. He ends up shooing Zach, the girlfriend, away. And then she creates like this whole list of chores that the kids are going to be doing. She's going to put this place in tip-top shape, okay? Now, her reign is shortened when she ends up dying in her sleep. Now, you would think at this point the kids will be like, let's call 911. We have a freaking dead person here. But no. They decide to just stuff her in this chest and leave it at the mortuary. And so, I didn't realize, because like I said, as a kid, you just watch this stuff for entertainment, but this is a dark comedy because someone dies and you stuff them in a chest. I mean, what kids would think of doing something like that unless you were like a serial killer or something, even though they didn't kill her, but oh my gosh, they didn't even really freak out when she died. Like, it was kind of like, oh, well, we don't want mom to come back home. Like, we know if she finds out she's dead, then she's going to come instantly home. And that was their thought. Not that, oh my God, this poor old lady died and we're traumatized. Like, they didn't even care about that. So the kids all agree that basically, we're just going to drop this lady off because we don't want to tell mom about this, which is really effed up. So at this point, they're like, okay, we can hold down the house by ourselves. Like, it's okay. And they decide to go grocery shopping because they remembered the mom had left the babysitter an envelope that had a bunch of money. For the 90s, it was a bunch of money for them kids to, be able to survive for 2 months. But they end up finding out that there's no money in the envelope and they have no idea what the babysitter did with it. And so then they're like, oh my gosh, now stuff has really gotten bad. So we don't have a babysitter. We don't have a grown person here. And then we realized that she did something with the money that was supposed to be ours. So then Swell, who is the oldest, she has to sacrifice her summer to help take care of her siblings because it was between her and Kenny. They had flipped a pizza box to say, okay, we don't have no money, so who's going to work? And so they decided to flip a pizza box, kind of like heads, tails type of thing. And it ended up going on Swell's side, landing on the side that Swell said she would have to be the one to find a job. So she ends up getting a job because she's thinking, okay, well, it's not that bad. I'll get a job at a clothing store or something. It's going to be easy. But I guess the only job she could land was working at this freaking hamburger joint where their mascots clowns and they're always have a happy face, and she's just this is lame, this is stupid, this is too much hard work, I don't want to do this. I'd rather just get a corporate job where I just sit in an office and look pretty. So she ends up quitting that job. And she decides to doctor up this resume, put all of this fake credentials on her resume, and she applies for this receptionist gig that's like at this fashion corporate job. Now keep in mind, this girl's not even 18 yet, and she has no experience working, as far as I know. This is like her first time really like getting a job, because she's never really had to before. And then when she goes to this place to apply for the receptionist position, she ends up running into, like, I think the director of that department she's applying for. And the director looks at her resume. She's super impressed. And she has, like, this executive assistant position opening. And the director mentions to her, she's like, oh my God, your resume is so impressive. Like, I want to hire you to be my assistant. And she also like lets her know that the current receptionist there they were replacing her spot so she could be the assistant to this director. But she's like, I really don't want to work with her that closely. I want you for this job. Now, mind you, it's like, girl, you didn't even look up to verify anything on her freaking resume. She just literally took it for what it was. They didn't. It's like, okay, don't you have to like show an ID? You have to show your social security. It's like this girl just hired her on the spot and then didn't verify nothing about her. So it's like, oh my God, really? Come on. But it was the 90s too, so maybe that was a thing. Maybe you could have got away with, getting a corporate job at 16 years old in the 90s. But yeah, so she ends up getting a higher position with better pay at this corporate job. And I just want to say this as a side note. What I realized as Swell, when she ends up changing her name or putting her name as Sue Ellen. Sue Ellen. She doesn't do anything at work. Like, she literally, because I remember when I watched this, I thought, oh my gosh, she was really a hardworking person, but she literally didn't do anything. But let me get back to that. So pretty much, Swell ends up getting a glimpse into adult life and what it really means. That not only do you get to do what you want, but there's also the cost of having responsibilities that come along with it. Because, your idea, if your parents show you a life that basically looks like you don't, everything's smooth sailing, you ain't got to really do much, then you're going to assume, oh my God, I want that life because, it's going to be cool. I can do whatever I want, but we don't realize, the obstacles and the work you have to put into having a life where you do whatever you want. And so this movie is really a life lesson. Like, there's a big theme into it as far as because I feel like a lot of the stuff gets glamorized as an adult, but you don't realize the responsibilities that come with it. And I feel like that's what the message this movie gives, even though it's like a dark comedy, but it just lets you know, like, that's every kid's ideal situation, your parents being gone, and you get to do whatever you want. But the flip side of it is what, I'm trying to see, how can you word this? It's like with fun. Oh, work hard, play hard. I guess that's maybe. But okay, let's get into this cast here. So we have Christina Applegate, who played Swell and was also in The Sweetest Thing, Married with Children. We have Joanna Cassidy, who plays... Let's see here. We have Joanna Cassidy. I have to go back and look at the main list. Joanna Cassidy, who plays Rose Lindsay, which ends up with the director of that department. Then we have Josh Charles, who plays Brian, and he ends up becoming the love interest, and he played in Dead Poet Society, Four Brothers. Then we have David Duchovny. He played in the X-Files, and his name was Bruce. And here we have Carolyn. She played the receptionist, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yeah, she played the receptionist. Then we have Robert Hy Gorman, he played Walter. He was a little boy. He was so cute. We have Ida Reese. That was the babysitter, Mrs. Storek. She also played in Turner and Hooch, Ghostbusters. We have Christopher Piety. He was in Point Blank. And Christopher, he played the character. Let's see. He played Zach. And then we have Daniel Harris, who played Melissa. She also played Halloween 4 and the remakes of Halloween Part 2. And then she also played Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which she was younger in this movie. So I saw that movie, but I didn't recognize her. And then John Geets, who he had played... Let me see. Oh, he played Gus. He was like the two-timing guy at The Office. He was with Rose. He was trying to get with Sue Ellen. He was a hot mess. He played in The Fly. He played in Zodiac. And then we have Concetta Tommy, who played in Deep Impact. And she played the mom. And then we have Keith Coogan. He played in The Adventures of Babysitting, which... The Adventures of Babysitting, this movie, to me, like, have very similar themes. Very similar. The director is Stephen Herrick. And he directed Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Critters. And then just some trivia. So production nearly stopped towards the end of shooting due to Christopher's drug addiction, which was starting to get out of control. The producers cut a few of his scenes to keep the film on schedule. And the actor Chris actually died in 2000. Now, mind you, I said Chris had played Zach, I believe. Let me make sure. Yes, he played Zach. Okay, this is what's weird. This boy was very young. Okay? Like, in this movie, he was young. And let me see. Okay, so he was born in 76. And let's see. This movie came out in... Was it 95? Let me see. Let me check. So this movie came out in 95. Yes. Oh, no, sorry. That was Clueless. This movie came out in 91. Yeah, this movie came out in 91. So let me see. Let's do a little math here. Because I got to see how old he was when this movie came out. This boy looks so young. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He was 23. Wait. Okay. Wait, hold up. This boy was 20. This boy looked like he was 16 years old. And he was 23. See, when I was doing all this, I didn't even really like the gravity of how old he was in this movie. So that boy was 23 when this movie came out. Hold on, there's no way. Okay, y'all, apparently I can't math. Okay, I take it back. He was not 23. He was 15. So I was right. I was like, he looked about 16. He was 15 when this movie came out. Because I did 1999 minus 76. So, of course, he was 23 then. That's what I was like, wait, there's no way. So, yeah, he was 15. But he had a drug addiction at 15. Oh, my God, that's even worse. Oh, my God, that's even worse. He wasn't even legal age and he had a drug addiction. Holy crap. Okay, now this was Christina Applegate's first lead role, and she was 19. The original script was written with Winona Ryder in mind for the role of Sue Ellen Crandall. I could see that, but she turned it down as she was working on both Edward Scissorhands and Mermaids. Justine Bateman was later cast as Sue Ellen, but then left the project. Christina Applegate was cast after her Married with Children. Co-star Ed O'Neill, who was friends with the producer of the film, gave her the script. And that's one of her main things that Christina Applegate is actually known for, is that TV show Married with Children. Which, like I've said before, I don't know if I've said that yet, but just because you're not the first casting choice, the second casting choice, the third casting choice, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, that does not mean you are not the best choice for the role, because that has proven time and time again. Keith Coogan was told he was too old to play 15-year-old Kenny. because he was 20. He was 20. He was actually 20 when he auditioned auditioning for the role. He was 22 months older than his co-star Christina Applegate. So he was technically the oldest. He had actually came back to the audition in stoner apparel and a wig, and he got the part. See, that's how you do it. You let them know I'm made for this part, and that's what he did. Now, Keith Coogan is the grandson of Jackie Coogan. I thought this was very interesting, who was Uncle Fester on the Addams Family. So he's the grandson of Jackie Coogan, Uncle Fester on the Addams Family. Now, Jackie Coogan was also the impetus for Coogan's Law, which it's a law that protects child actors from being exploited by unethical parents, agents, and show business producers. The law was passed when Coogan discovered at age 21, after years of working in show business, that his bank account had been completely depleted. All the money he had earned during movies as a child was taken by his mother, who stated unapologetically, any money Jackie made prior to the age of 21 is legally ours. We never promised him otherwise. How effed up is that? Your son freaking gave you a lifestyle that you probably wouldn't have never gotten without your son. And that is your thank you. That you don't get any of the money that you worked for. I'm glad they put that law in place, because that's crazy. Most PG-13 films allow one use of the word fuck used in a non-sexual way. However, this film uses 7 uses and is rated PG-13. Wow. Wonder how they got away with that. This is actually the second movie starring Keith Coogan about a group of kids being left with a babysitter. The first was Adventures in Babysitting in 1987, opposite Elizabeth Shue. Coincidentally, both films were rated PG-13 by the Motion Picture Association of America and contain more than one use of the F word in a non-sexual manner. So, yeah, like I said, those movies are like very similar to each other. Super similar. And this is a really good movie. This is one of those movies. It's like one of those kind of fantasy movies. Especially if you're a kid watching it, because you're like I said before, that is the ideal thing. That your parents leave you. And you get to do whatever you want. And you have no worries. You have to worry about them nagging. You have to worry about cleaning up. You can sleep in. You can eat cake before dinner, or you can eat cake for lunch and dinner and dessert and lunch. You know, you can do whatever you want. That's the ideal thing. But it's a big lesson in this movie to be taught as well, that life is not always green on the other side. You think being a kid, you don't get to do whatever you want. An adult, you will get to do whatever you want, which is true, but it comes with a price. And are you willing to pay that price? And I'm an adult. I have no choice. I got to pay that price. But I also get to do whatever I want. Hey. All right. I think that's it, guys. We got through our 2 movies. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, please share this episode. If you know someone that remembers these movies or like these movies or would be interested, please share. Also, rate and review. If any platform that you see like stars that you can rate it, please do that. And also, if you want to leave a review of the podcast as well, whether it's constructive criticism, even though you'll probably make me cry, but we all have things we can improve on. So I would like to hear that, or if you really love it or what you love about it, definitely write a review on it so other people can know about this podcast, before they decide to listen to it. Also, subscribe so you can get updated about future episodes. So you can get that notification to let you know that an episode has been uploaded. You can definitely subscribe. Now, social media info is actually in the description box, along with a link to the new website. Yes, there is a website for the podcast now, and I worked very hard on it. So please check that out. All right, the show is over. The credits are rolling. I will see y'all at the next showing.